when we're looking at Scrum values, courage is a biggie. It's very easy to misinterpret courage. And just remember, courage is very, very close to its very good friend, stupidity. If you try something and it's insane and it works, it's courageous. If it's try something and it's insane and it fails, probably stupid, right? So we have to balance that. And courage is very, very easy to overplay. It's easy to lean into it thinking I was being courageous when in fact you're just being a jerk. This was a tough one for me because as I grew up, as I matured in my career, I'd done a whole lot of things where courage was mandatory, you know. So while I was at uni, I was in the Army Reserve, so learned how to soldier. I played rugby. I was a front row forward. And if you haven't understood rugby or seen that, they're at the front of the scrum. Now, front row forwards are not renowned for their grace or elegance, but they are known for brute force and ignorance. You know, if you want to batter through something, you get a prop and you just give them the ball and they just smash. When you apply that approach, when you're working with people, generally the results aren't that good. You can take that from me, you know. Save yourself a few years of pain and just like, don't do it that way. So courage is really important in the Scrum values because we need to be courageous to use our values. And this courage applies to using the framework, to our interactions with others, to working with our stakeholders, the courage to be open and learn. Learning takes courage because it means you are changing the way you look at the world, and that can be very confronting. If something that you thought most of your life was correct, to reach the epiphany that there is another way of looking at it that may be better can be very, very challenging. It is in courage that we grow. It is the courage to do a little bit more exercise, to get up in the morning and do that small bit of me time to think about how you're going to approach the day. That courage to challenge other people's thinkings, the courage to ask the loudest voice in the room to be quiet so that the quietest voice can be heard. That courage to ask what the real constraints are. That courage to clarify. The courage to push back against command and control management. The courage to highlight how a framework works. The courage to be kind to ourselves, to others. The courage to work in an ethical and moral way. And this is huge because Scrum without the values is a brutal, brutal framework of nano-management and oppression. The amount of transparency Scrum will bring to your team and your organization is phenomenal. In the wrong hands, this is destructive. And this is the great quote from A Few Good Men: "You can't handle the truth." Is your organization ready to have the true inner workings of delivery shared publicly and clearly? Is your organization ready to have the courage to face impediments that are spoken about in hushed whispers? Are you going to challenge the human dynamics, the relationships, the social debt of your organization that stops you being truly productive? Are you ready to call out non-performance? Courage is an easy thing to overplay. And I've seen this where people lean into it. Well, the framework says to do this. It's all about openness. The framework says to be transparent. And this is where you must temper it with kindness. Calling something out without a clear, actionable plan to make it better is not courageous. It's foolish and disrespectful. So we have to temper courage with the other Scrum values to ensure that we grow and nurture trust, that we are demonstrating that curiosity with positive intent and that humility to grow with our teams, with our organization, to create a better place. Now, without any courage at all, you're not going to change. And I've seen and heard of far too many aspects of this where people have said, oh, we're doing Agile or we're doing Scrum, and no one's there holding the mirror up and checking that you're using the framework, that you're honoring the values that you are delivering. And this is where they used to be called Scrum Butts. We're doing Scrum, but excuse following. We're doing Scrum, but we work in 6-week sprints. We're doing Scrum, but we don't put it into live. We're doing Scrum, but we don't get to done because it's too hard. We're doing Scrum, but we do a retrospective every 4 sprints. That's not Scrum. If you've got a pizza, it's a pizza, right? It's a flat piece of dough with some sauce and cheese that you bake. You fold it over, it's a calzone. Call it a calzone. So having the courage to honor the framework, to use the values to foster trust and a ruthless focus on delivery will enable your team to achieve greatness. Have you got the courage to honor your commitment to each other as a team to be the best team that you can be?